Yes, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for me. Man, we touched on this yesterday, man. So clearly, man, I have a spirit of discernment, man. I can see through stuff, man. David Benavidez eyed for shock Alexander Usyk heavyweight clash in 2027 after becoming three-weight world champion, right? So this is being reported by Mike Coppinger. Benavidez became a three-weight world champion in Las Vegas this past weekend following a six-round stoppage win over Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez on his cruiserweight debut. Blah, blah, blah. According to the Ring magazine, Turkey Al Sheikh, has now expressed his desire to have the American fight unified heavyweight king Usyk next year, so 2027. We all know Usyk is fighting that sham fight against Rico Verhoeven. I've made my thoughts known on that, so I won't torment the Usyk fanboys any more than I already have. So, man, this isn't going to be a long video, but I just thought, this was a kind of an interesting situation because Benavidez is big enough to target a lot of the smaller heavyweights, right? He has the speed, he has the power, and more importantly, he has the physical strength. Well, I don't say more importantly. Most importantly is his mindset. He's a straight killer. He's a dog in the ring. You never had any moments where he looked panicked, where he looked scared, and that's 90% of boxing, man, is being able to control those nerves, which is very difficult to do when you're, encountering a fusillade of punches from your opponent. It's very difficult to maintain your composure and focus on the task at hand and concentrate so that you can execute the game plan, mind your defense, and also implement your offense, implement your combinations, keep that jab pumping. It's hard to do all that when you're having a lot of fire come back at you. But Benavidez is a dog. He's mentally strong, mentally tough. I've never seen any mental fragility from him. So I think he'd be game. I think he'd be down. He's talking about fighting Bivol. Like I said in my previous video, I'm not all that excited about that fight. I'd much rather see him fight Jai Opetaia. I think most hardcore fans want to see him unified with Jai Opetaia. But, it is what it is. Maybe he thinks Bivol is easier work. Maybe he feels like he has unfinished business at light heavyweight. But for me, taking on a heavyweight to me would just be the ultimate feather in the cap. And we live in this kind of bizarre world now in boxing where we're getting these weird fights, a lot of these crossover fights. I don't see why we can't make that happen. Usyk obviously is not interested in fighting contenders. He's saying he'll fight the winner of Dubois Wardley. But that's what he's saying right now, right? He's obviously more interested in getting the money, getting the bag. So, again, I would want him to release the belts, to drop the belts, to vacate them, right? I don't want to see Benavidez get an immediate title shot. That's not okay. And I would keep that same energy from the political standpoint. It's not okay for him to get an immediate title shot, even though there are actually rules. Actually, I take that back. If he were to get the WBC belt, I know the WBC, or is it the WBO? It might be the WBO. They might allow for the champ to become mandatory challenger if he moves up. So actually, that might be within the rules. But I don't think Usyk has the WBO. I think that's Wardley. So, never say never. I don't think Benavidez could beat a Wardley. I don't think he might be able to beat Dubois. it's some of these guys I think he could beat. And if you've ever boxed before, it's not as crazy as people make it out to be. Right? You see it all the time. You see smaller guys box heavyweights. You'll see a welterweight box light heavyweights. You see it happen all the time. And sometimes they be getting the better of these big dudes. You know, hands in the air. I spar some little guys. That gave me work, man. That gave me work. There's some little dudes out here that, if you ain't on your game, they can give you the business. So, of course, do I think Benavidez would beat Usyk? No. I would favor Usyk. He's just bigger, stronger, and, yeah, more skilled for sure. But it would be an interesting spectacle. And Usyk's toughest fights really have come against dudes his size or smaller, especially when you talk about height, right? The Chisora fight, the Bradis fight. To me, those were fights where Usyk was pushed to his limit. You know, Tyson Fury had his moments. AJ had his moments. Dubois had the low blow, even though that shot was questionable, but it was borderline, to be fair. But none of those guys really just put Usyk under constant pressure, throwing constant work, you know, having a really, really strong work rate, a high work rate. Benavidez does. And I think he has enough pop to get Usyk's respect. I mean, how much bigger is Zurdo naturally than Usyk? Or how much bigger naturally is Usyk than Zurdo, rather? When you ask yourself that question, they're roughly the same size. Zurdo's coming into the ring at 220, right? And, yeah, he's a little fleshy, but so is Usyk. Neither one of them are Adonises. It doesn't matter. Look at Benavidez. Doesn't matter, right? He's just got, like, no pecs but two giant nipples and beating the brakes off of everybody. So, you know, for me, I think it'd be fun. It'd be fun. Again, assuming Usyk has vacated the belts, I have no problem with it. It would bother me if Usyk again is avoiding Caballel, avoiding Wardley if he wins, and not fighting Atalma. So he's not giving us us fans the fights we want to see in order to make the Benavidez fight. I wouldn't be okay with that. But if Usyk were to take out these challengers or, again, vacate the belts and not hold up the division and then say, hey, let me go fight Benavidez, cut me $50 million, I'll go fight him. I'm down. Sign me up. Take my money. So, yeah, I think it'd be cool. You know, Benavidez could top Roy Jones in a sense. And unlike Roy Jones, he wouldn't be going up to heavyweight and cherry picking the weakest belt holder like Roy did fighting John Ruiz, one of the weakest heavyweight champions in history. You know, he would be taking on the final boss, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. And he has nothing to lose. Like, he'll probably get more money to fight Usyk than to fight Bivol, right? And he doesn't seem interested in Jai, I think, because the risk is not worth the reward. And unfortunately for Jai, for whatever reason, he just doesn't have that marketability. You know, maybe it's because he almost comes off as a bit too crazy, but I don't know. We've seen a lot of unhinged guys in boxing, and they've done really well. Mike Tyson, right, the best example of them all, totally unhinged, but he's beloved all over the world, all over. So I don't know what it is about Jai, but he just doesn't bring the bag. So guys are not interested in potentially getting their face caved in for a $500,000 payday. So if you're Benavidez and you don't want to fight Jai, why not? Why not? You have nothing to lose. You get knocked out. You were supposed to get knocked out. But if you win, we're gonna have to have some uncomfortable conversations. Be very interesting. You know, so again, I don't expect Benavidez to be able to go up to heavy and take on some of these natural super heavyweights. But could he take on heavyweights, like old school size heavyweights like a Usyk? Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be very interesting, man. Um, and so we live in this era where these kinds of things can happen, and people are interested to see it. So if Usyk drops those belts and or decides to fight at least one of these contenders, I'm not saying he got to fight all of them because he is getting older, but I think if you're holding the belts, you should give either Caballero, Wardley, or Atama a title shot. And then if you want to vacate and just have fun fights where you can make a lot of money, I have no problem with it, man. But we shall see, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm out. Peace.